Well, hello everybody and welcome to another video tutorial. My name is Drakulic, and since it is Christmas, I thought about showing you how you could model this nice pine tree here in some very easy steps. Okay, so let's go ahead and see how we could make something like this. Of course, I do know that there are dedicated add-ons for Blender for creating trees and things like that, but it's always a good idea to being able to make something like that by hand. All right. So before starting, I would like to show you that essentially the branches of the tree here, and let me tab in edit mode. Okay, the branches of the tree here, of the pine tree, actually are a mesh that has been converted into a mesh from a curve. And the first curve I used was this one for the trunk. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start creating this pine tree here. So let's open a new scene. So I'm adding a new scene, completely new scene, all right? Okay. And now I want to first switch over to the front view by pressing 1, all right, on numpad, and you might need to also press 5, so you switch over to the orthographic view mode. And the first object we are going to be adding will be, by pressing Shift A of course, is going to be a curve, Bezier curve. So add a Bezier curve, rotate it along the y-axis by 90 degrees, and then tab in edit mode and scale all the nodes here along the y-axis by down to 0. All right, so S, Y, 0. So we have actually straightened this curve up. Now switch back to the front view. All right, and let's change this coordinate system here to global, perhaps. Move all of those curves over here, all of those nodes, excuse me, somewhere here. This is going to be the trunk. All right, so another thing we want to do is that we want to press N, bring this sidebar over here, and now where it says it writes curve display, we want to uncheck the handles. We don't want to see the handles, of course, and the normals. All right, of our tree. All right, now here this is going to be the trunk, so give it some height, arbitrary height. We don't care that much about the exact dimensions of our tree. The important thing is that we want to select both of those two nodes here by pressing Ctrl L and select the connected nodes. Shift D, duplicate them, bring them somewhere here. Now this is going to be the branch of our pine tree. So first thing I want to do is to rotate my branch along the y-axis somewhat. All right, switch over to the front orthographic view, bring our branch somewhere here. All right, and now all I want to do is to, having selected this branch only, if needed you can select one node, press Ctrl L, select all the connected nodes, not the trunk but just the branch, and just press P so you can separate this into another curve, a separate curve. So let's go ahead and give it some names to our objects. For example, let's go up here to the outliner window and let's name this Bezier curve 04, something such as trunk. All right, trunk. This is going to be the trunk, and this is going to be the branch. So Bezier curve, this one is going to be our branch. All right. So for our branch, we want to tab in edit mode, select this node here, press Shift S, and bring the cursor to the selected. Now tab out edit mode and press Ctrl Shift Alt C and place the origin to the 3D cursor. So now we can easily scale up or down our branch, just like that, in relation to the trunk. okay, as you can see very easily here. So now let's work a little bit on this branch. Switch over to the front view, scale it down a little bit, somewhere here, I think it's okay. Now switch over to the top orthographic view by pressing 7 on numpad, tap into edit mode, select this node here, Ctrl L, select the connected nodes and shift deduplicate them. Alright, let's start making the smaller branches, bring them somewhere here, and now it's very important that you work with what we call vector nodes. So press V and select all actually of the nodes and press V and bring this window here and select vector, alright, from the pop-up menu here. So now again I'm selecting those two nodes of the small branch and I'm rotating them a little bit somewhere here, moving them somewhere here, alright, perhaps well, I will work a little bit on the placement of my branch. Now let's select this node over here, and it's always useful for you to work in the normal coordinate system. So switch over from over here, from global or local to normal, and now you can very easily adjust the length of your branches, alright? So we can also select those two nodes, switch over to the orthographic, top of orthographic view, shift deduplicate them, and then scale them along the y-axis, let's say by -1, so essentially mirroring them, right? So bring them somewhere here. You can always give them some, let's say, some arbitrary, some random length, all right? And of course, you want to work to the orthographic views, right? So you can better, adjust the position of your branches here, all right? Perhaps give it some more length. Switch over to the top view. A nice way for you to work in 3 orthographic views plus the perspective will be to press Ctrl-Alt-Q and switch over to the 4 viewports view here. So you have here those 3 orthographic views plus the perspective view, okay, as you can see. If you don't like this way, you can still press Ctrl-Alt-Q and switch over to the single view mode. So press 7, top orthographic view, and select those two again, shift deduplicate them, bring them somewhere here, alright, scale them along the y-axis by -1, and let's, position them somewhere here. Of course, we need to go to the front orthographic view, and you get the meaning. We can make something like this, alright, depending upon the amount of precision, alright, so you can, alright, you want to give it something like that. Alright, now, the next step is to go ahead and add some more branches like that, okay, to our pine tree. So what we need to do is first to press Shift-C and bring the cursor to the center, to the origin of our world, and Shift-A, add an empty plane axis exactly at the origin of our 3D world here. Now let's go over here to the properties menu and select this icon and select and make our empty to be a little bit bigger so we can more easily see it. And let's name our empty something like branch empty. This is going to be controlling the branches of our prime tree, and you are going to see exactly how in just a moment. So let's bring this a little bit down. So now what I want to do is to select my branch curve, okay, and I want of course for this I think this is the branch curve actually. It's about naming it, all right. So and this is the trunk curve. So let's name this trunk, all right, and and this one as branch. So I want for my branch curve, select this one. I want to go to the modifiers menu here and add the modifier, array modifier. So uncheck the relative offset here, uncheck this one, and enable the object offset. As an object, of course, we want to set the branch empty. So if you see some weird results here, the main reason for that is that you need first to press Ctrl A and apply both the rotation and the scale of your branch curve, and then, very important, you want to place the origin of your branch to be exactly at the same point, at the same position of the origin of our empty. So select your empty, Shift S, bring the cursor to the selected, and then select your branch, and then press Ctrl Shift Alt C and place the origin to the 3D cursor. Now, as you can see, we have our two branches of the array modifier to be exactly at the same position. All right, now let's go ahead and add some more branches from the count here. All right, let's make them something like 21. You can add as many as you want. So, and now let's select our empty, switch over to the top orthographic view, and rotate our empty, something like so. All right, and let's take a look, all right, from the side here, and then move your empty a little bit up, all right, something like so. And of course, we need to press this down, hold down the Shift key so you can minimize more precisely, you can rotate or moving your empty. Rotate your empty again. All right, something like so. Give it some, along the z-axis, of course. Something like so. All right. Now let's press down the Shift key and try to adjust your empty, to move it upwards somewhat, so in such a way that we are at the same, the topmost branches are where the trunk ends. So let's more easily we can adjust the trunk instead. All right. So again, we need to rotate our empty along the z-axis for quite a few degrees. So you have something like this, as you can see. All right. And now I want to scale my empty, and press Shift Z so you can scale it along the plane, at the plane XY plane, not along the Z axis. So S, Shift Z, and you can see now that we have this nice shape, all right, of our, branches here, all right. Okay, now in order for us to have a better visual feedback about how this looks like, we need to add some thickness to our branches. So that's the next step. Select your branches, go over here to the curve button here, all right, and here we have the curve, of course, branch. Let's rename this, and now we want to some thickness to our branches. So that's why we need a bevel object here. All right, so I'm going to be adding a circle, circle, all right, here, somewhere here, and I'm going to be naming this branch bevel, all right, so branch bevel. So this is going to give the thickness to our branches. How? I'm going to be showing you in just a moment. Go down here where it writes bevel object, having selected the branch curve. All right, and select as bevel object the branch bevel. So you can see something weird, really weird now, but don't worry about that. We are going to be selecting our branch bevel and tab in edit mode and scale it down, always while in the edit mode for the circle. So you can see we have something like this. Of course, this looks more like branches, but not yet. We are not yet there. So, all right, what we need to do now is to go ahead and we need to add a taper object for a taper object, excuse me, for the branches. But before that, let's go ahead and add Shift A, curve, circle. All right, and let's name this circle now as trunk bevel. All right, trunk bevel. So I want to select my trunk object here, this curve here, and I want to go here to the properties and add as a bevel object now the trunk bevel. All right, this looks kind of weird, right? But we're going to be fixing that in just a while. First of all, select your trunk bevel from over here from the outliner and tab in edit mode, always in the edit mode, scale it down quite a bit until it looks like a tree trunk. Starts looking like a tree trunk. Again, we need to taper it. So that's why I'm going to be tab out from the circle and select the trunk, tab into edit mode for the trunk, select all the nodes, simply duplicate them, bring them somewhere here, and press P and separate them into a separate curve. Now select this new curve, name this curve something like trunk taper, alright? And I want for the trunk taper, I want to, of course, go to the curve menu. I want to uncheck this to disable this trunk bevel. Of course, I don't need that. And this is going to be controlling the taper of my trunk. So switch over to the front orthographic view. Having selected the trunk taper, tab into edit mode, select this top node here, you can see, and start moving it. And hopefully, oh, actually, before that, I need to select the trunk, of course, and I want to enable for the trunk a taper object, which is going to be the trunk taper, of course. Now, go ahead, select this trunk taper object, tab into edit mode, and start. And as you can see, if you move along the x-axis, I think, yeah, if you move those vertices here along the x-axis, you can effectively affect the taper, as you can see, of the trunk, right? So now we need the same thing to go on for the same thing to happen for the branches. So now let's go ahead and select this trunk taper, simply duplicate the curve, right? Bring it somewhere here, and let's name this new curve something like branch taper now. So branch taper. All right. And now this branch taper, I want for this curve, I want to go ahead, select the branch object and enable the taper object option and select branch taper. Right now, I can work on my of the taper of my branches, although I can see it's quite nice looking. But again, you can always tab into the edit mode and adjust the the taper. But if you see a certain weird results going on here, I mean something like the taper going the other way around, all you have to do is to tab into edit mode for the certain branch. Again, you can switch the direction by pressing W of your of your branches if you have a problem here. But hopefully you won't have any problem. So now we have effectively create this form here, which looks like a pine tree. And now let's go ahead and add, of course, the leaves of our pine tree. All right. So for this purpose, I need to first select the branch object. All right. And I want to press Alt-C and convert this into a mesh. Now it is a mesh. Of course, we always want to make sure by tapping into edit mode and pressing first W to remove the doubles. Of course, no doubles here, and then Control N to recalculate normal looking outside. And then I want to go ahead and add a Buttock system. Of course, I want to save first and add the Buttock system, a new Buttock system for the branches. So the new Buttock system is going to be of the type hair. As you can see, the hair are rather long now, too long, all right? So we can always check this, enable this advanced option here, and we can, of course, adjust the normal of our hair. I mean, actually, the length of our hair by going here to the normal. All right, we want for them to be quite something like so, anyways. And then we need to populate our branches with more leaves. So let's bring this up, the number of our, leaves here. Of course, we want to select the random option. instead of jitter it. And maybe if you uncheck the invent distribution, alright, that could be alright. You can experiment, you can play around with all this. The important thing is that you have some hair here, some leaves, I mean, and then you can play around with the tangent factor. Oops. So you can give it some more, alright, shape and the rotation. Alright, let's play a little bit with the rotation, alright. So we can give it some more. Alright, something like so, I guess. Alright, and the normal, of course, something like that. Alright, you can play around with all this, and until you find something that satisfies all those nice settings here, okay? And you can, actually, I will go for the tangent, alright, and I will adjust the normal. And don't worry about the length of our leaves for now. We're going to be adjusting this in just a while, because the length is going to be controlled by the let's enable first the strand render, of course, here, and let's make this be a B-spline, which is it's much better. I forgot to say you that don't forget to go here and you want to enable the option fill caps. This is very important, alright, so you can have your caps here closed, alright, on top here when you convert this into a mesh. Of course, we didn't do this for the branches, but it's okay. So let's switch over to the select our branch and switch over to the weight paint. So as you can see now, all the branches are blue, meaning that the leaves won't have any length when we're going to apply this vertex group here. But we want to start painting. Alright, and let's start painting. Let's press F to adjust the radius of our brush and start painting here. And as we paint, as you can see, we want to make a gradient actually here. So starting from the longer, the more lengthier leaves, if you prefer, and going up to the less, you know, lengthy leaves, something like so. Of course, you have to experiment with all this, of course. Let's switch, alright, let's something like so. I think maybe this is going to look nice, and if you don't, if the leaves are really annoying, you can always go to the modifiers and check this eye icon here, so you can hide the parametric system modifier. So enable the parametric modifier, and now let's go ahead and go to the vertex groups here, to the parametric system, and assign this vertex group to control the length of the brushes of the leaves. Next thing we want to do is to go ahead and assign some material for our pine tree here. Alright, so the materials we want to add is, let's go to the materials property menu, is going to be a new material for the trunk. Alright, so for the trunk is going to be a new material. Alright, let's name this material trunk. Alright, and it's going to be, of course, a dark brownish material, something like so. Let's bring down the intensity. But well, since we're going to be rendering this in cycle render, let's switch over from now to the cycle render. So use node for the material and bring this node editor here, so you can have also the ability to edit your material on the fly. All right. So a dark brown material for our trunk. Let's rename this as wood instead, because we're going to be applying this also to the branches. So for the branch now, we want two materials. We want, of course, the wood material, all right, and then we also want to add a new material, which is going to be a new material, and it's going to be the leaves material. So leaves here, all right, and for this material I want to select instead of the diffuse default diffuse here, I want Control X, delete it, and Shift A, add a new shader, a hair BSDF shader. So let's use this instead. Let's give it a dark pine wood pine tree, whatever color, something like so. And let's adjust the roughness of this, of the V roughness, of course, to make this more shiny, perhaps. Something like so. Bring this down. All right, something to like, let's say 0.1 perhaps, or even lower than that. Of course, you can go for even more advanced materials than that, but I'm just giving you a, just an idea here of what we can do. All right, and now let's switch over to the Buttock system, and somewhere down here we have the ability to adjust the where it writes cycles here rendering. We can adjust the different parameters of the for our hair, our leaves, I mean. So first of all, let's go ahead and set the root to something like 2 units and the tip to 2 as well, right? And we want to close tip, of course, and perhaps you can play with the roundness, play around with the roundness of the tip. But all right, we don't want such much detail now, so much detail. All right. So now let's go ahead and try a render of this. Let's go ahead and switch over to the rendered mode and see how this looks like. Oh, of course, I forgot. Yeah, I forgot to add, of course, some, we want to set up our scene. So Shift-8, add the mesh plane. Here, this is going to be the floor, right? Scale it up quite a bit. And of course, tab edit mode, select the edge here and, just extrude it sometimes, once here, and select this edge. Control B to bevel it. Hold down Shift, right? And then add, Control B. Hold down Shift, and then with your scroll wheel, just add some divisions here. Now let's tab edit mode, smooth out the shading of our floor here, and then I want to set my camera, of course, somewhere here to be somewhere here, perhaps. Control Alt 0 to set our camera here. All right. Of course, I need to add a new camera for my new scene. All right, and Control Alt. Control 0 to make this camera active, and of course I need to press Control F0, so somewhere here to place my camera here and grab it and adjust it somewhere, rotate it along the Z, things like that. Alright, so since I have this very basic setup, I want to add also a lamp, an area lamp perhaps. Alright, although we could work with planes here, but alright. Actually, for the cycle render, it would be better to add a mesh plane. Alright, and scale it up quite a bit. It's easier to work with planes. As lights here, rotate along the y-axis perhaps. Yeah. Alright, so such a way that it looks at the pine tree. Alright, now for the plane itself, I want to go to the object menu, and I want to go to the ray visibility tab, and I want to uncheck the visible by camera option. Alright, and I want to add for this a new material, which is going to be an emission material. So add an emission material for our plane, and let's give it a, let's say, I'm not sure about the number, perhaps something like that. Yeah, something like so, perhaps. Alright, and I want to now test my scene, render it, so we have something like so. Of course, it doesn't look alright because it's the strength of the light is, it's alright, a lot actually. Alright, now you can see that the leaves are actually still brown, and the reason for that is that you have to go over here to the Buttock system, select the branch object, and for the leaves you want to assign somewhere here, you want to assign to the renderer, you want to assign an index of material, an index 2 for the material of the Buttock system, which is the leaves for the moment. So make this 2. Alright, so actually this is the index for the material from here. This is the index 1, the wood, and the leaves have the index 2. So now if I switch over to the to the rendered view, you can see we have this nice, let's see through our camera, this nice looking pine tree. Of course, you can work even more with the various settings. You can, of course, go ahead and add a new a new environment. So let's set the environment. If you want, you can use the sky texture for that. All right, so you can have a better feedback. All right, although the sky is usually it's usually gray when it is snowing, but it's okay. So the basic idea, the basic idea is that you can make a tree like that using curves, and then using a patching system in order to to make this tree. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and you learned something from this. And if you like this, don't forget to subscribe. See you next time with a hopefully interesting topic. Hopefully soon. Until then, have fun and goodbye.